This is something that I've been hyperfixating over for almost 3 years. I just happened to randomly think about this speech that Griffith gives at the end of the last chapter drawn by Miura very often. For a humanistic person such as me who likes literature, and that does not just consist of manga, right? I can be very fascinated with the way a dialogue is structured. It doesn't just consist of the substance of it, but also its form. And of course, there is also the translation to be praised in this particular case. But yeah, this poem, I would call it so. I just happen to think about it randomly very often. So I just wanna get it out of me so I can get over it because it's so beautiful, but it's also so sad. Though I doubt there is anything beautiful that does not also even remotely have a little bit of sorrow in it. Just some context before reading and analyzing the poem. The setting is Elfhelm, and Casca has just been healed from her illness. So there is a moment of brief respite for Guts, who's still struggling despite everything. And the Moonlight Boy has once again made his appearance. But everything soon turns dark when Griffith manifests in his place. And he says this, which is just what I've been, thinking about non-stop for years. I had a dream. Under the full moon, I was a child, embraced by nostalgic warmth. But when I wake from the dream, only a vague sense of longing remains. That, too, will soon disappear with a single tear like morning dew. It is no surprise that after not seeing Guts for so long, Griffith begins his speech with the word I. He's talking about himself. This is what he has to say. Keep in mind that the last time these two saw each other was at the Band of the Hawk graveyard, where even there, Griffith only showed up to know if he was still feeling nostalgic or if he was free, and he gave the latter as an answer, but he could feel his heart beating. Notice how he uses the past. I had a dream. He's no longer having it. And of course, he talks about dreams. Griffith is all about dreams. His dream of a kingdom. But now he's awake. I had a dream. And as if writing poetry, he doesn't express this dream occurred at night. He says, under the full moon, which is a very beautiful way to say it. But it's also very detached from the entire context he's in. He's talking to Guts in a poetic way, in a beautiful form, but at the same time very just frightening. I was a child, embraced by nostalgic warmth. He was a child. The Moonlight Boy was a manifestation, embraced by nostalgic warmth. Just in a couple of words, he summarizes the entirety of Berserk. There is a nostalgic feeling for the past that he felt thanks to the Moonlight Boy, and that feeling is warm. It's a nostalgic warmth. He's clearly talking about the golden age of Berserk and of their lives, of a life lost, memories, promises unkept. He's referring to the past, and there is no way that will ever come back, because it can't. It simply cannot. And this is explained in the following verses, when he switches from the past to the present. But he abruptly interrupts what he was saying. When I wake from the dream, we are in the present, only a vague sense of longing remains. Of everything he felt nostalgic for, when Griffith wakes, is only left a vague, not ulteriorly defined feeling. It's almost as if his past, his friendship with gods and companionship with others never happened. It's as if his entire life never happened. That, too, will soon disappear with a single tear, like morning dew. It's not just his feeling, his heart, that will soon disappear, because he says that too, along with everything, any bond that gods could think of, any link with Griffith, everything will disappear, as if it never were, with a single tear. Griffith is not crying, he's just letting go of one tear. And in that tear is all of this story, all of Berserk. And how fragile is it? Because it will disappear like morning dew. How long can morning dew last when the sun sets its gaze at it? That's how fast that tear will vanish. But the weight it carries is priceless, and yet it's about to be gone. So this poem is only one of a series of examples I could make in Berserk about Miura just and the translators. I specifically chose this translation because I prefer it among the others, where there is a clearly thought out presentation of the dialogue or the monologue, which doesn't only pay very careful attention to the substance of what is being told, but also its form. It's so beautiful for me. It's so beautiful. In particular, there are no rhymes, but between disappear and tear, I love how playful the wording is. The only rhyme that happens and stands out is at the climax of the poem, when Griffith has already explained how he's not feeling anything, and he just discards all his emotions, all his past, like that. He is erasing everything. That's when there is a little bit of musicality in the poem. Other examples that I will not include in this video because I plan on eventually making a Berserk documentary surely include Griffith's speech on dreams, or Godot's speech to Guts, where he reproaches him after abandoning Casca. But there is even something as simple as the description of Guts' greatsword, or even Guts' birth. There is a careful choice of words by both Miura and the translators that really should be paid attention to more often. There are not many videos, if any, on Berserk that really put the stress on how well it's written, not from a narrative perspective, but actual wording, and just even the choreography of the dialogue. Like, what are characters doing while one is talking and the other is listening? Let's take a look at this. This is from one of the earliest chapters, and after surviving a very bloody battle, Griffith helps Guts stand back up, though he sits down while Griffith explains the way he views life. He's looking at the sun, the sunrise, and after witnessing just how different and elevated Griffith is in comparison to all of humanity, Guts says this: "At that time, he shone before me as something beautiful, noble, and larger than life." Where else can you read this in a manga? Griffith is compared to the sun here, implicitly. I'm just speechless.